Hi everybody. Right, well, I think the majority have joined us, so we'll get started. And obviously, we're recording the session too, so we'll be able to publish the recording after it if anybody does join a bit late and they want to get the start of that. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the acquisition campaign guide that we've published. I'll also pop the link to the guide on the published version of the of today's webinar. So obviously we can take a look and sort of see the step by step. But obviously, rather than just scrolling through the guide, we'll get into building it as well. But just to sort of give you an overview of what's going to be covered in the session, the guide does stipulate sort of step by step process as well as uploading the data as the starting point. But as the acquisition guide, we've tried to make it generic so it applies to obviously all clients in all different industries. So we'll be taking a look at creating the microsites and then storing and hosting the PDFs as well. And if we required a form, so tend to be for sort of event registrations or for downloading PDFs for the example. We'll take a look at the email series, which obviously will be built in the email templates. We'll take a look at the journeys too, and we've covered a number of different types of journeys that we can cover. Obviously, majority of you will be aware of the different functions that we can use journeys for, but we'll cover the event-based journey, resending to unopens, and then accompanying journeys as well. So we've got thank you journeys. And also we can incorporate the lead score journey into that too. So we'll sort of follow this premise rather than sort of scrolling through the entire guide. You guys can have a look at it later on. It does mention that we, based on our research, that contacts tend to open one in sort of 6 commercial emails. So it is based on 6 different emails, and obviously we probably will have mentioned in the past that we tend to incorporate a mixture of HTML and plain text follow-ups as well, just to try and reach those contacts. But like I said, rather than sort of working through the entire guide, we'll sort of get in the portal and get these built in. So we'll take a look first at the microsite. So I'll pop to the portal, pop into my microsites tab, and then I'll create a new microsite here. So I will name this as webinar test. The portal does automatically populate any spaces in the microsite name with a hyphen. That's to produce a cleaner looking URL, because in the event that we have a space in one of our page names, for example, it will populate that with a %20. So just tend to sort of best practice include in the microsite name the hyphen there. Use the default favicon as well, and I'll save that. And my new microsite will be added there. So I've got my webinar test, and then I'll add a new page in here. I'll see if I can take a shortcut and choose from a template. So I'll just use this one as an example, and I'll call this my form page. I'll add that one, and whilst I'm here, I'll also create a thank you page as well. I wonder if there is a template in here. We've got a thank you one here. And I'll call this, as I said, I'll call it thank you, but I'll include the dash as the space just for sort of future proofing when we do come to publish it, a cleaner looking URL. So I'll add that page whilst I'm there. And I click the down arrow, and both of my landing pages have been added within my microsite test microsite. So now it'll be a case of obviously creating the microsite to appear as I want and contain the form and all the information that I require. So I'll just hover over my form page and I'll click edit. And we've got the editor open, so we've got a form in here already. So any other text amends, if I wanted to include text here, directing it on, dependent on the function, obviously, I might want to tweak it in here. So please attendance below. You can see it's added it onto the second line as well. That's due to the container size. So you can see this is sort of a 2-column snippet that we've made use of. But if you needed to add in any other ones, we can come in here, select our categories. We can go in the general one. So if I did need to add any more snippets or anything like that, I needed some extra information there, simple drag and drop, similar to the email template editor, and I can make use of those too. And also, if my microsite is going to contain a form, obviously it's important that the contacts are taken to the correct page, so that thank you page that I've put in place, or into the correct microsite, the correct marketing list. And then obviously that will help us, assist us in the journeys and sort of stopping them on proceeding on the journey if they no longer require sort of the event invites, for example. So just to ensure that I check the form configuration, just click on the form and we get a little edit pop up here. I can click edit. I can change my form name, so I'll just put webinar test in here. You can see this has already been linked up, but what I would do is include my microsite name that I've named my thank you page, so thank-you, and then just put .html in there. And you can see I can specify my marketing list too, so I'll put webinar test. There we go, I'll add that. So any contacts that submit this form will be added to my webinar test marketing list. And then I can specify my email address in here, so I receive a notification of every time somebody's submitted that form. So I can update that. That'll have saved the changes there. If I did need to make any other changes, we can utilise the toolbar at the top. So if I needed to change the background colour, for example, click on the container selection mode, click on the edit style. You can see that the background colour's in here, so I could change this if I wanted to. Select a different branded colour, for example. I choose go for a bit of a navy theme here. That'll update that for me, and I can swap out images as well just by clicking on there, clicking the replace button, and then dragging and dropping my image that I require to go in there. So I won't spend too much time sort of editing it, because it's all about the process of getting the various things in place. So I'll save that, exit that. So I'm happy with how that appears. I will bob into my thank you page just to make sure this appears as I would like. See here, I might want to change here. You can see there's a personalization token in here as well, which would default to there if we did not have the first name held against the contact. We look forward to... Obviously, I'm sort of focusing on the event theme here, but it would be exactly the same of if they were downloading, for example, thank you for downloading our PDF. All interchangeable, and obviously this is the thanks page that we've incorporated into our webinar journey that we've got in place that obviously you guys will have received. And this is just an additional form that we've included in case you guys have any suggestions of what you'd like us to cover in any upcoming webinars. But obviously this is not essential. You might just have a thank you for registering, thanks for downloading our PDF, that sort of thing. Just getting the text as we appear. And again, we've included the background image here, but you can swap those out similar to the process that I outlined on the previous page. I'll save that one. So I've got my pages in place. Now what I'll do is I'll publish these. Select my location, so I'll use landing.force24, and I'll include my default page as the form page. So I'll just publish that. Publish process has started. It's like my Wi-Fi connection there, but I'll pop in and I'll show you also if we did opt for the PDF, or we wanted to have somebody submit their details to download the PDF, for example. What I can do is I can manage the files here. There's some already in place. So I'll pop on here, and we do this by clicking the Add Assets button at the top here. So you can see we've got the Add Assets, select a PDF. I'll just choose the acquisition campaign one, open that one. Just ask me to confirm that that's the one I would like to add. Add that one there, and you can see it's been added here. So when I do publish that, it would generate a live link for me. So what I'll do is I'll just grab a example one here. So I think this will be one that Adam's covered on his demo. But if this was the published link, I can open that up, grab my link from the toolbar above, and then I can incorporate that into my email series. So I would pop to my email templates, could make use of a master template here. So I'll just use this one. I'll pop it over into my account templates, and I've got this. Just rename this so nobody thinks I'm working on anything. So I'll put webinar test. Put that in there as well. And I'll just include my pre-header. Save my pre-header there. And obviously working on the content, getting that available. But then if I edit here, register for our event by clicking the button below, for example. And then if I were to edit my CTA, I can use the link that we've generated from our published microsite, pop that in there. I've copied that since. Just pop and grab this link. Pop that in here, update my button, save the element. Now that CTA will take the contacts to my landing page. So I can publish that one, and then that's ready to attach to my my journey that I'm going to put in place to work alongside that as well. So obviously incorporating all of the different features and all the different elements within the portal to create obviously that seamless acquisition guide. It might be a case that you guys want to push them to a web page. Obviously exactly the same principle applies. You just would take the link from the page on your website rather than using the published link that we've generated via the microsite. So obviously different methods, and obviously we try and keep it generic so it applies to everybody. I'll just publish that one. Just budget it across into my published template section, and then that'll be available for me to attach to my journey. So I'll create a new journey here. I want to add my contacts in. I'll specify my journey here, and I'm happy to leave it as the first enrollment setting, so the contacts are only ever going to go through this this obviously acquisition campaign if you like. Once could specify, for example, if we were incorporating a lead score journey that is also mentioned in the acquisition campaign, or a simple thank you journey. We can incorporate that so a contact can actually go through it multiple times, depending on the time frame that we specify for them to do it. So I'll just save that, and that'll open up my my new canvas. So I'll start by identifying my marketing list. So it might be the case that you've uploaded the contacts into a marketing list, or you've performed a contact search in the contact section where you've identified the contacts that you want to add on to this journey. And we'll do that by clicking the marketing list option in here. And I'll just see if I've got a test list that I can just use as a placeholder. So I'll use that. You can check the contacts have all pulled through. So there's only myself in the Steve test one, so that's why it's only appearing as one contact found, but I'll save that. So that's added my start audience. I might want to schedule my first email to be sent out, so I can do this by dragging and dropping a set delay time. I might want to send it Monday at 9 AM. Do that one. Use the not before option here rather than specifying a number of days, or hours or minutes. And I'll select Monday at 9 AM. If it's going to a large data set as well, we might want to specify the throttling rate. I might want to lower that down just to give my deliverability the best chance. And also, if contacts are going to be added to this journey at various stages, we might also want to cover our backs and make sure we don't send on Saturday and Sunday, for example. And we can refine that even further by specifying a time frame. So I might only want to send Monday to Friday between the hours of 9 and 5, which I can do in the send windows option. So I can save that one, link up the two components, and then I will introduce my first email to the contacts on this acquisition journey. So always sort of find myself preaching a little bit, but always suggest renaming this component, just because it becomes a lot easier for us to identify which email we're looking at when it comes to the reporting. If we do leave them all as send email and we have 6 emails in, as we would do in this example, it would appear as send email, send email, send email, etc. So just to make it a little bit easier for us to identify which statistics we're having a look at, rather than having to sort of view the artwork on each one just to prompt that. So I'll complete the rest of this pop-up. So this is my subject line. I'll leave Force24 as the from name, because what I might want to do is I might introduce a HTML template at first, but then I might incorporate a plain text follow-up as we do in the webinar journey too. if I needed to have the legitimate replies come to myself, so I can manage those replies, I can specify that in the reply address. I'll choose my audience type as marketing, select my published template, which appears here, save that, and my email is added to the journey. And now this is where I can drag and drop another delay time. So I'm going to give the contacts sort of 4 days to follow what I want them to do and either register for the event or download a PDF, whichever action I want them to do. I'm going to allow them 4 days to do that before I make my decision. So before I ask whether they've downloaded the PDF or whether they've registered for the event, I'm going to give them 4 days, and then I'm going to use the make decision component. I'm going to make it instant because I've used the delay timing before there, and I might rename this just to make it really obvious. So have they registered? And then I'll do that by asking if they've been added to my marketing list. So by filling in the form, obviously the form configuration that I showed when I was putting my marketing, my microsite page in place, I was able to add the contacts that have filled that form in to add them to a specific list. And this is where I can specify this here. So if I put webinar, I'm going to have all of this. If I grab this one, I can add them into that list that's associated to the form. So I know that the contacts after the 4 days, if they have registered, they will appear in this list. If they have registered, I haven't got any further communications for them, because what I'm going to do is I'm also going to set up a thank you journey to run as well. So I'm going to lead them to the end journey because I know they're going to go elsewhere and they're going to be nurtured in whichever way I decide. But if they have not yet registered, this is where I'm going to incorporate the next send. So I'm just going to take a little shortcut just by clicking the cog icon and cloning this one. This creates an exact copy. So what I'm going to do is, this is my email to. I'm going to tweak the subject line, and I'm going to see if there is plain text. There is. So I'm going to incorporate this as if it's been sent from me directly. So I'm going to pop this in here. So it would appear in the inbox as if it had been sent from myself. And obviously I'll leave myself as the reply address too. Save that one. And I've got my plain text follow-up. And then it is just a case of repeating the process. So we might delay for a certain amount of time. You might have a specific date that you want to delay to. In that case, we would use the not before function. But I'm happy to sort of leave it as the 4 days and repeat this process again. So I'm going to clone that, link that up, clone my same journey, because obviously they will still be added to that particular list, whether that be a downloaded PDF list or registered for the event. I'm going to do that, and the process will take place again. So if they still haven't after another 4-day delay, we'll add them onto email 3, which might be a HTML. We'll delay for 4 days, have another make decision. So that's going to run as soon as I click out of here. So I'll just clone this end journey. I can select clone. There we go. I'll clone the end journey and make this journey valid. Obviously, we would proceed with the remaining emails and have that in place there. I'll just link this up. Like that, I'll just drag and drop another end journey in here. There we go. I'll check my validation errors. The journey is valid. Fantastic. I'll go back to my manager. You can see that my webinar test can now be started. So if I had my 6 emails in place, I can click start. That's going to run in the background, and I can come back and review the statistics, see what active count we've got, see how many have completed that count, how many are in the list that have either downloaded the PDF or registered for the event. So I'm all good. So I did mention the thank you journey as well. So what we might have is a journey running at the same time. So we might have thank you journey. I can save that. And the only way this would differ is I'd have a start audience of that was associated to my form. So marketing list again is, I think I said webinar test. There we go. So whoever's submitted the form will start this journey. I can then send them an immediate email, and I'm going to call this thank you. Subject line, obviously we can amend that. Select my published template of thank you for registering. Sort of, we'll be in touch with reminders for the event, or thank you for downloading the PDF. Please get in touch if there's anything we can help you with. Obviously, it depends on what purpose we're using for these journeys and the microsites and the emails. But you can save that. And it can be as simple as having the start audience, a thank you automated email that will run in the background. So as soon as people submit, they could be taken to the thank you page. They could receive a thank you follow-up. You might delay for a couple of hours just to see that they've managed to do everything that they've achieved in the PDF, for example. But obviously, if we did have any further communications based on this, we could lead this on. But I'm happy just to have an automated thank you to run in the background. Pop back here, and I also mentioned whilst I'm in the Journey Manager that we might want to have a lead score journey. So those of you that aren't aware of the lead score in system, this can be found in the settings section. So I could also, with my published URL, incorporate these as high value or goal URLs. Obviously, we've got a lot in our Force24 account. The values can be changed here as well, but we might want to add them into a high lead score list so we can sort of attribute these points to the contact and rate who is engaged out of this. And if we're downloading PDFs, if it's registering for an event, perhaps lead scoring wouldn't be as applicable. But in this event, again, I'll have, call it lead score. And in this occasion, I'm going to actually, because lead score works based on the previous 30 days activity of a contact, I'm going to want to keep this. I'm going to want to keep this marketing list as up to date as I possibly can. So I know that if I view my high lead score marketing list, that those people have engaged with me or with my content in the previous 30 days. So I know that they're somewhat engaged, rather than sort of having them run through it once and then somebody might have developed a nice healthy lead score 6 months in the past, but they would still appear in my list. So I'm going to want to keep this up as updated as possible. Save this in. Start audience again, but this time I'm going to incorporate the lead score example we've got. So lead score greater or equal to 30 as an example. And I can double check how many that's. So we've currently got 171 that have a lead score of 30 or above. And save that. This time I'm going to incorporate an action component. So I'm going to add them to a marketing list. And these are going to be, I imagine there'll be a few in here, so I might be able to set high lead score. Here we go. So I've got a high lead score marketing list. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to add them to that list. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to delay for the 30 days just to make sure and sort of re-establish whether they are still engaged via their lead score. So I'm going to delay for 30 days, link that up, and then after that 30-day delay, I'm going to utilize the make decision stage, make it instant, and then I'm going to ask the same question. I'm going to see if they've still got, after those 30 days delay, whether they've got a greater or equal to 30 lead score. If they have, brilliant. I'm going to leave them in that list because they're still engaged with my content. Save that one. If they haven't, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the action component, but I'm going to remove them from my high lead score list just to ensure that that list is as up to date as possible. So my high lead score marketing list. And link that up as well. And that can work in the background. Obviously, the lead scoring wouldn't only be associated to the campaign. So what we could do is include has received email campaign name. Let me have a look. Where's my received? Received campaign name. And this is where I can specify that. And by using the AND function, I'm asking for those with a lead score of 30 or above. But they've also got to have received this particular campaign that I put. So if I put webinar test, for example, just select this one. But you can save that and narrow that down further so you have a particular high lead score list for this particular acquisition journey for an example. Is there, I realise we've sort of covered a few different bits in a short space of time. Is there any questions on anything at the moment? Sorry about that, Izzy. I've only just seen that. I think that was while everyone was in the process of joining the call there, but hopefully that has subsided and there's not been as much beeping. But I'll give it sort of 20 seconds. Can't see anyone typing, so I'm hoping that everything's making sense thus far. So I'll revert back to, I think we've just got a message come through. Fantastic, brilliant. So I'll revert back to this. So we've managed to, obviously, we didn't spend a lot of time on creating the emails, but if I just give you a quick overview of the campaign, we've got the process of running, uploading the data, creating the microsite, obviously hoping we'll be able to make use of snippets and sort of swap in and out of text. We've covered the toolbar, and we've gone into a little bit more detail in here just to really help, adding the PDF and generating the link here. So as I said, I will include this on the published version when we get the recording of the webinar published, and we'll have this available, so you can click on this and obviously have this to go through. Obviously, it's might easier to have a hard copy or something on your computer that you can refer to. Obviously, the form configuration is covered. We do actually have a newly branded form submission email, but this would be the email you'd receive when somebody does submit your form, if you did specify your email address in there. So you'd be able to keep sort of a manual check on that, as well as them being added to that list. Got the email series. We've covered the journeys. Features are thank you journey, so this screenshot's obviously referring to an event example. Delay time and the incorporation of the event reminder. Obviously, similar process would be applied in case of a PDF download. You could follow up with them. You could obviously have them in the list to revert to sort of follow up with the sales team for examples, and the lead score coverage that we've discussed on that previous one, as they're removing from the list and making sure they're as up to date as possible. So I think I've just got another message come through. We can certainly incorporate that, but we do have a tab. I'll just show you just to make it easier, Jay. So in the help section, if we just search for, in fact, we'll scroll so we get all of them. We've got a folder of productivity webinars, and you can see here, I think this is the 14th installment. Yeah, I think it is. So you can see here, here's all our previous webinars. And what we'll do is later on today, we'll get the recording published, and it'll be available on here. We give a little breakdown so you can have a look down and see what would be applicable to you guys. You can have a look, and if you wanted to have a look at, if you needed a hand on reporting on campaigns, you might want to watch this video. We'll include a link to the PDF as well as the embedded video for today's webinar. But that's covered the vast majority of the acquisition campaign. So unless there's no problem, Jay. Unless there's any other questions at the moment, we'll sort of stick a pin in this one. And obviously, if you have any further questions that you want to speak to sort of myself, Lee, Liv, please do just get in touch. Obviously, we do have intercom as well. If you did want to pop up and ask for a bit of clarity on anything, we'll obviously come back to you as soon as we can and get something in place if this is something you're looking to implement. So I don't think we've got any further questions. So we'll wrap up today's session, and thank you everyone for joining. We'll be back in touch in a week or so for the invite for the next one, and we'll specify what's covering. You're very welcome, Izzy, and we look forward to seeing you next time, guys. Thank you very much. Bye bye.